Hey guys, it's New Name and welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time here. As the title says, I want to talk a little bit about the status of RuneScape, better known as RuneScape 3, old school RuneScape, and it really feels like Jagex is starting to try to maybe attempt to get their head out of the ground and save RuneScape. But before we get into that, make sure to like, share, and comment on the video. It really helps out, it really pushes it. I think it's important for everyone to know, at least in the beginning, we're going to be talking about the survey and how that can help. So even if it's just for the first few minutes, make sure to share the video and subscribe if you aren't. I do make content on both old school RuneScape and RuneScape 3. I love both games, played them for years. But anyways, I want to get into it. So, like I said, the first thing I want to talk about is the survey. So this is a really huge survey. If you are a fan of RuneScape 3, you really should complete the survey. If you want RuneScape to survive, if you want MTX to start to be removed, you need to fill out the survey. This is a survey that I will go ahead and link in the description. It is on the news post from the first experiment, which was disabling Treasure Hunter. And it asks you how you feel about buying XP period. So this is super important to fill out. Again, super important. I'm going to link it down below. Make sure you fill it out, especially if you don't like microtransactions or Treasure Hunter in the game. Jagex will probably use this as a thing to push towards their owners, is my guess, of how to, hey, maybe we really need to remove this. But anyways, wanted to get that out of the way. I shared my opinion. I don't want to make you guys feel biased on that. So, share how you feel. Let Jagex know. Maybe you can save the game, change things in your own way, in the way you want it to go. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about after that is old school RuneScape. Like I said, I enjoy playing both games, and I think the success old school RuneScape has had is really showing what's going on. If you've been in the community a while, you've probably seen this graph, which is the player count on RuneScape over time. Here we have the yellow line is RuneScape 3, the blue line is old school RuneScape, and you can see that old school RuneScape has just been gapping RuneScape 3 for a while. Especially this last year, we've seen RuneScape 3 go into some of the lowest player numbers we've probably ever seen on the game. I think a lot of this has to do with, one, people are just tired of feeling like they weren't being heard, which is, I think, where we got a big amount of the recent changes and experiments Jagex is trying. Which, if you don't know, the next one is a double XP weekend where all the porters, I believe it's just the Proteans and the dummies are being removed from the game or disabled for that. But anyways, back to the graph. Old school RuneScape recently hit a high. This graph doesn't show it too well. If we switch to the day, they recently hit a high of 200,000 players on a week or two ago. Last Sunday, it was 220 players. It was absolutely ridiculous. As you can see, it's just, like I said, going parabolic in a way, completely gapping RuneScape. RuneScape 3 or RuneScape is just kind of stagnant, really declining. You can really see it here. From 2020 all the way to 2025, we've lost, granted 2020 was a pandemic, but we've lost over half our players. And old school RuneScape, on the other hand, has basically doubled their player count in this time. Granted, a lot of that is from players coming over from World of Warcraft to try old school RuneScape. But, it is what it is. I think these experiments are Jagex attempting to save the game. If you looked at their most recent earnings, there was a big deal about how it showed that old school RuneScape is growing. Their microtransaction profit has gone down, and so has their subscriptions for RuneScape 3. The people who are paying for subscriptions are only logging into old school RuneScape is probably how they track that. But, it really goes a long way to show that you can make a successful game just off of subscriptions if you put out enjoyable content. I've heard a lot of good things about the newest quest. I know that's huge for a lot of people. Not too big for me. I'm not a quester. I'm a skiller for the most part. Doing doing a little bit of stuff on my Iron Man. Make sure you subscribe for when I release. I'm working on 2,000 kills from Nex. I occasionally stream some of those kills on some of the platforms linked down below, so make sure to check those out. But anyways, I really think Jagex has learned a lot. I think the community has been very vocal, and I think that's a good thing. I think Jagex really needs to start listening to the RuneScape 3 community more, and I think they could really turn this ship around. But, they can't do that without us, the players, letting them know, making sure we log into certain things. For example, as you can see, I am here in the fort. It's a little dead on this world, but you may or may not notice something. If I examine these people, they all are actually wearing gear from RuneScape and not cosmetics. That is because I am on one of the cosmetic-free worlds. So if you want to support cosmetics not being a thing or being a toggle or anything like that, maybe log in. Make sure you're logging into the worlds. If you go to Hop Worlds and select, you can see the cosmetic-free worlds have been put at the top. Even if you sort, no matter how you sort it, they will stay at the top. So super important. Like I said, if you are an anti cosmetic person, really important for you to log in onto one of these worlds, show that there's an interest in it, make sure you play on it. I will say one thing I noticed that is kind of funny. I saw some memes on Reddit and Twitter talking about this, but almost everyone's wearing necromancy gear. You do occasionally get people wearing like magic gear and stuff like that. But it is funny that so many people wear necromancy and so many people still are doing just necromancy because it really is easier and cheaper to get into. I think that's just a source of it having like been in the game the least amount, but I'm hoping a lot of these weapon changes and stuff give some of the other combat styles a little bit of love. But anyways, want to talk a little bit more before I forget about the next experiment after trying to remember. Sorry, pulling it up right now. The next experiment after all of these, thought I had the thing up, but the next experiment, if I remember right, is the sorry. Okay, I guess I can't find it. Oh, actually, I think it was just the disabling of cosmetics. They have said this is most likely going to be a toggle. I don't know about you guys, but I really think it should be a toggle off by default. And if you purchase a cosmetic, it asks you if you want to turn them on for everyone. Have it off by default. To me, that's the way to do it, especially for the game. I don't like cosmetics, not because I don't like the particle effects, but because I think it breaks the immersion of, I want a cool item. Like, oh, that guy has that cool scythe. Where's that scythe? Oh, I can buy that scythe with in-game cash. Not, oh, I have to go spend money, real life money for that cool look. That's just how I feel about cosmetics. I don't care about like people like, oh, all the particle effects. I mean, if a gear has particle effects on it, it has particle effects on it. I don't care that people can make themselves look hideous. That's what they want to wear. That's what they want to wear, kind of a thing. But I do think it's important that people be given the option to turn that off. Wanted to say a few more things before I forget about like how hopeful I am for RuneScape. I think if these go over well, it's gonna take time. Like if we go back to that graph on old school RuneScape, it wasn't, I played old school RuneScape a little bit back here when it came out. It wasn't until they released the Grand Exchange and started doing consistent updates that the game grew. And if you look, it took 3 years for the game to finally like see a decent amount of growth. I think RuneScape 3 can really see similar growth if they clean up some of the issues with microtransactions. I know a lot of people, final thing I want to talk about is like fresh start worlds or fresh start servers. I know that's a big thing a lot of people talk about and a lot of people want. I may be one of the weirdos here, but I think that is a horrible idea. RuneScape is already fractured into different communities. For me, the main reason I didn't switch to old school RuneScape when it first came out was I've played on this account for like most of my life that I've played RuneScape. I didn't want to start a new account. I didn't want to start over from scratch. When I eventually did want to start over from scratch, I played an Iron Man. I think something that maybe Jagex should, because people always say, oh, it's the high scores, that's why you should do it. Let's be honest, the vast majority of players aren't going to go for 200 mil. I think if you want to bring back competition, you do a prestige system where once you get 200 mil in all, maybe it takes like 20 bonds or something, or it's like 10, like a set amount of money, and you prestige your account. I think that would be something Jagex could sell. You prestige your account and you can compete for high scores, something like that. Though for those, I really think it would be like you prestige your account, you keep your bank. That's the only way you could do that and not piss people off. I think the big thing that RuneScape 3 has going for it that old school RuneScape doesn't is we get new skills consistently. Old school RuneScape is about to get a new skill. I am aware of that, but that's our first new skill in 12 years. So in that time, I believe we went from divination to necromancy. So we got like 4 skills total. But yeah, let me know what you think down below, guys. Like I said, do you agree with these experiments? Do you think Jagex can save RuneScape? Do you think some of these things are going to help the game? Or have you given up all hope and have already switched to different games? Or do you only play old school RuneScape? Like I said in the beginning, I make videos on my RuneScape 3 Iron Man, my old school RuneScape Iron Man, and my RuneScape 3 main. Currently working towards next kills on the RuneScape 3 Iron Man and doing a little bit of slow progress on the old school RuneScape, and I compare the games, so make sure to check out some of my other series on the channel, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.